Watch this pass home. Bounce back, and the defense couldn't even react.
Nikola Jokic has been recognized as a premier NBA big man for the last several seasons. With his uncanny ability to score from 3 levels, Nikola is one of the league's most unique talents. Jokic was a 26.4 point per game scorer last season, but he also finished with 8.3 assists and 10.8 rebounds per game. Jokic doubled all NBA centers in assists per game outside of Domantas Sabonis. Not only are his assist stats impressive at his position, Jokic finished 6th overall in assists last year. Nikola was able to seamlessly combine his skills as a passer and scorer, which led to one of the greatest statistical seasons in NBA history. Heading into 2021, most expected Jokic would lead the Nuggets towards another solid regular season. Jokic would reach and exceed everyone's 2021 expectations, as I doubt many foresaw that the Nuggets star would become the league's 2021 MVP. If Nikola Jokic wasn't the best player in basketball last season, he was unquestionably on a short list of players. Jokic will lead his team into a 47-25 record, good enough to finish 3rd in the Western Conference. The Nuggets were poised once again to battle for Western Conference supremacy, but disaster would strike their roster April 12, 2021. Nikola's co-star, Jamal Murray, will tear his ACL with less than a minute to play against the Golden State Warriors. Any injury to a team star can have a detrimental effect, but what made Murray's injury ultra crippling for the Nuggets was timing. Jamal tore his ACL with only 1 month left to play in the regular season. Although short-handed, Jokic was driven not to waste away his MVP-level season. Denver would battle the 6-seeded Trailblazers in round 1 of the postseason. As expected, Dame Lillard was not there to be a bystander to the MVP's fairy tale season. Lillard had performances of 34, 42, 37, and 55 points, but that wasn't enough to win the series. The Nuggets would eliminate the Blazers in 6, with Jokic scoring 36 points in the deciding game. In the second round, Denver found themselves facing CP3, Devin Booker, and the Phoenix Suns. This would be a short-lived series. After only 4 games, the Nuggets found themselves eliminated from postseason contention. After Murray's injury, it was no doubt that Denver was overwhelmed talent-wise against Phoenix, but a few of Nikola's unsettling flaws were exposed in the 4-game sweep. Although Jokic can score the ball with great efficiency, the big man hasn't obtained an unstoppable scoring move. Jokic still averaged 25 points, 15.5 rebounds, and 5.8 assists in the 4 games against Phoenix, but I consider those garbage stats. The series was never necessarily close, with Phoenix throttling the Denver Nuggets to an average loss margin of 16 points per game. My other concern in relation to Nikola Jokic, how translatable is his pass-heavy offense into postseason play? Nikola will see his 8.3 assists per game drop to only 5, as the pace and physicality of the NBA's postseason slowed the Nuggets' offense. Despite his shortcomings, Nikola was still last year's NBA MVP, so I find no reason to overdwell on his faults, especially considering Jokic's main cohort was unavailable throughout the postseason. Knowing Jamal Murray is expected back sometime this season, 2022 may be the year the Joker has the last laugh out west.
And this is very typical. Late in the 4th, Denver always seems to get back in games, and Jokic makes it possible.
For nearly the last 2 decades, one man has remained a stalwart amongst the NBA's best, the King, a nickname which aptly encapsulates LeBron James' position in the basketball universe. The King. LeBron James spent his first 7 NBA seasons as a Cleveland Cavalier. During that 7-year stretch, LeBron set the standard for what would become a theme throughout his entire career. LeBron can do more with less than arguably any other star in NBA history. The Cavs drafted LeBron first overall in the 2003 NBA draft after only a 17-win season. His rookie year, he'd helped the Cavs double their win total and they'd finished the season with 35. By year 3, James transformed the lowly Cavs franchise into a perennial 50-win powerhouse. Unsurprisingly, Bron could not uplift the Cavaliers' dreadful organizations past all of their deficiency. So, LeBron would become a free agent in the 2010 summer, and he'd change the dynamics of all-star players' career empowerment, as he joined Miami with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade to form a Big Three. At the time, the decision by James was a widely criticized spectacle, but after 9 title appearances in 10 years, the King has silenced all contemporary critics. Now, he only chases the ghost of Chicago's 23. James is culminating one of the greatest resumes in NBA history, with a career average of 27 points, 7.4 assists, and 7.4 rebounds. LeBron's maintained a higher level of consistency than any other star in the league's 75-year history. To put his ridiculous career into perspective, LeBron will likely retire as the #1 scorer and top 5 in assists all time. Simply stated, LeBron has been acknowledged amongst the NBA's best for the past 17 years. Although it's been nearly 2 decades since LeBron wasn't recognized as a top 3 player, I find myself ranking the king at number 4 for my 2021 listing. Throughout his career, LeBron cemented his yearly top 3 standing behind his 2 greatest strengths. First, being durability. LeBron is the NBA's ultimate Iron Man. Second, James has always been unstoppable when attacking the rim. After winning his 4th championship in 2019, LeBron was poised to continue asserting his dominance. It seemed none of James' contemporaries could detour LeBron's path. And truthfully, they couldn't. There's only one true threat to a king's throne. LeBron is face-to-face with Father Time. The main place you can see Father Time taking its effect on LeBron James is his durability. After playing his first 16 seasons without missing any significant time to injury, in season 17, we'd finally get our indications that LeBron is only human. LeBron suffered a groin injury in 2019 and was unable to lead his team to the postseason for the first time since he was only in his 2nd year in the NBA. Last season, LeBron would have to try to deal with the effects coming back from a high ankle sprain, which was a lot of the reason why the Lakers found themselves in the play-in tournament. So, it's only fair to ask, has time officially begun its siege upon the King's Court? Measuring in at only 6'3", 185 pounds, the Chef of San Francisco is the NBA's most polarizing force. If you ask basketball fans Stephen's legacy, you're likely to get 2 vastly differing opinions. A, Curry's the greatest innovator since the air fryer, or B, Curry's a massively overrated superstar who shrinks below his miniature stature in the largest moments. Anyone who knows me knows how tempted I am to go down this Stephen legacy rabbit hole, but right now, it's not a question. Steph's easily amongst a handful of best players in the NBA. From 2015 until 2019, Stephen Curry and his Golden State Warriors ignited the NBA. With the dazzling shooting ferocity, Curry propelled a historic Warriors offense behind unseen 3-point shooting volume and accuracy. Add a roster of high-level defenders such as Iguodala, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and eventually Kevin Durant. It was no surprise to see them in 5 straight NBA Finals, with 3 of them culminating in them taking champagne showers. Things change quickly in the NBA, and dynasties are never sustained as long as we foresee. KD would head to Brooklyn in free agency after their 2019 Finals loss to Toronto, a series that would see Durant tear his Achilles and the second Splash Brother tear his ACL. Already down on luck, the Warriors would catch a break. Unfortunately, this break was in the non-shooting hand of Stephen Curry early in the 2020 regular season. Stephen would go on to miss the majority of the year, and the Warriors would finish the season as the worst team in the Western Conference, winning only 15 of their 65 games. After failing to make the postseason following 5 consecutive finals trips, the Warriors were poised to re-establish their prominence in the Western Conference. As the Warriors were preparing to get ready for the season, another catastrophic injury would strike Thompson. He would tear his Achilles following a workout preparing for the 2021 season. Despite the massive blow to the morale and talent base of the Dubs, Curry would reawake any sleeping critics. Not only is he the greatest shooter in NBA history, he's amongst the league's finest players at the moment, and he doesn't plan on relenting his placement anytime soon. Curry set a career high with 32 points per game and 5.5 rebounds. He added 5.9 assists while also shooting 48% and 42% from 3 on 13 attempts per game. For comparison, Curry led the league in 3-pointers attempted this season with 801. Buddy was second with 721, and third, nearly 100 shots behind Curry at 704, Damian Lillard. More attempts than anyone, and a better percentage than most, Steph's shooting speaks for itself. Heading into the 2022 season, I'm sure every NBA team is keenly aware of Golden State. Although they failed to make the playoffs in consecutive seasons, that trend will not continue. 30 might average 30 again. Buckle up.
In those shoes, his dad designed that jumper.
During the past decade, there's been a tremendous shift in the NBA style of play. The early 2000s era was defined by its 90s level physicality. That era in NBA history would feature a number of methodical, low-scoring slugfests. The brightest stars of the early 2000s would ironically find themselves amongst the stars, Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal, the most dominant duo in NBA history. Kobe would immerse fans with dazzling aerial and shooting displays, while Shaq would anchor himself onto any paint position he pleased. In 2021, we still see the influence of Kobe's footwork and shot making throughout the league. Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, DeMar DeRozan, and a litany of other players amongst those imitating Kobe's movements. What we don't see much of in today's NBA is an overwhelming post force the nature of Shaquille O'Neal. That was until Giannis Antetokounmpo arrived in Milwaukee. The Greek Freak's dominance was so evident, Shaquille himself blessed Giannis with the Superman moniker, something he didn't feel three-time Defensive Player of the Year Dwight Howard was deserving of. Shaquille was dominant in his heyday, but I think he would have some issues with the accelerated pace and space of today's NBA game. Unlike O'Neal, Giannis isn't limited to only being an immovable paint presence. Antetokounmpo also contains some of the dazzling aerial agilities that made Kobe Bean Bryant an NBA legend. Towering over his competition at 6'11", 242 pounds, the Greek Freak is the league's most lethal fast break threat. Once Giannis begins opening his stride in the open court, there's not a player in the NBA equipped to derail the freight train. Not only is Giannis far and away the best offensive threat in the open court today, he's also the best defensive player in open space. Personally, I consider Giannis a slightly above average on-ball defender, but he overcompensates any defensive shortcomings with unseen timing and floor positioning. The two-time NBA MVP is also a perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate, winning both awards simultaneously in the 2020 season. Giannis and the Bucks would dominate the 2020 regular season and finish easily with the #1 seed. However, they'd fallen 5 games in only the second round against the Miami Heat. After back-to-back first-place finishes in the 2 seasons prior, the Bucks would experiment more during the 2021 regular season. The Bucks would begin postseason play third in the Eastern Conference, and it would only take them 4 games to sweep their nemesis, the Miami Heat. Next, Milwaukee would face KD and the Brooklyn Nets. This would be a classic 7-game series, where Giannis would average a whopping 35 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists. Giannis found himself in a very similar situation in the NBA Finals. Down 2-0 to Phoenix, he was in a must-win Game 3 and delivered. 41 points, 13 rebounds, and 6 assists, and carried them to a cozy 20-point victory. The Bucks would go on to win the finals, and at only 26, Giannis is a most improved player, a 2-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, 5-time All-NBA, 4-time All-Defense, and now a Finals MVP. Welcome to Antetokounmpo's Freak Show. Let's be honest, anyone who knows me or follows me on Twitter knew this was inevitable. The best basketball player on the planet resides at the Clays in Brooklyn, New York. Between 6'9" or 7'3", the Slim Reaper, Kevin Durant, is my #1 player. After suffering a career-altering Achilles tear in the 2019 Finals, many fans, GMs, and NBA analysts questioned whether Durant could return to his pre-injury MVP form.
And Stephen A., to your point, fully recover, or 70 to 80%, and then he still has time to fully recover. The only player in history who's ever come back in the NBA, fully recovered, so to speak, mostly recovered from an Achilles and still played at an all-star level, is Dominique Wilkins. That's one example out of many. So actually what KD was risking also to me wasn't the money. It was the rest of his career, the rest of his prime. He may never be the same.
We'd be forced to wait nearly 2 years to receive an answer. Durant will return to action for Game 1 of the 2021 season. And one thing was made immediately evident. Kevin Durant was still Kevin Durant. The 7-foot Slim Reaper will continue eviscerating any defender in his championship path. KD's availability in 2021 would mirror the up-and-down nature of last year's NBA season. While his numbers were KD-like, Durant only played in 35 of Brooklyn's 72 games. He missed action for a myriad of reasons, including COVID restrictions and small injuries. Despite Durant's elongated absences throughout the season, the Nets finished 48-24, good enough for the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference. Brooklyn will head into the postseason as the championship favorites. In 2 games into their second-round series against the Bucks, it looked as if Durant would add a 3rd championship to his well-padded resume. Despite losing Harden in the opening seconds against Milwaukee, Brooklyn found themselves up 2-0 and had the eventual champions down nearly 50 in Game 2. Already down on health, Kyrie Irving would sustain an ankle injury midway through Game 4 and miss the remainder of the series. With Irving out and Harden limited to strictly participating, KD would step into some signature moments. Durant would play all 48 minutes of a must-win Game 5. 49 points, 17 rebounds, and 10 assists. Absolutely ridiculous. And if you think I'm being a little too over-complimentary of Kevin Durant's game,
oh man, I don't know, man. Just keep making it tough. Obviously, one of the best scorers to ever play the game. It's tough. It's tough. You know, like he's the best. He's the best player in the world right now.
Durant would have another spectacular performance in Game 7. He'd finish with 48 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists, and the Nets' 115-111 loss to Milwaukee. Kevin's a 7-footer with a feathery 3-level touch, fadeaways over either shoulder, underrated playmaking, and high-efficiency slashing towards the rim. And I expect him to help lead the Brooklyn Nets towards another championship push in the 2022 season.
Blake Griffin, razzle dazzle, oh, next level!